Here we go. Happy Tuesday. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report live here on Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. Yes, we're a couple of days removed from Sunday's Super Bowl defeat against the Kansas City Chiefs. It is one that is going to stick in the craw for a really long time. A heartbreaker of a loss to Kansas City, and now the offseason is officially here. Already, we've been provided with a lot of offseason storylines. That includes Brandon Aiyuk. Does he want out? Specifically, does he want to trade to the Las Vegas Raiders? We talked about that earlier today. We'll expand on that coming up here in just a little while. We have some Niners injury news to get to. Dre Greenlaw torn Achilles. Aiyuk Armstead had a torn meniscus in his knee that he played through, which he suffered in Week 13 against Philadelphia. Credit to him for playing throughout this playoff run. Kyle Shanahan did not give a vote of confidence to Steve Wilks, in my opinion. Is the Niners defensive coordinator going to get fired? We'll talk about that. And I put together my perfect San Francisco 49ers offseason plan. First, I'm looking at the chat right now. It's popping. We had 2 million people tune into our watch party for Super Bowl 58. It was also the most viewed telecast in the history of television on Sunday. So ratings were going crazy all over the place. But I do want to ask you this. If you found us for the first time on the 49ers Report during our watch party, I want you to type SB down in the chat, because we want to thank you for coming back and give a shout out to some of our new subscribers here. So Yuan, Carl Hauser, TFL Slayer, Eric Allen, Anthony Papow, Clean, all typing SB. Then I see some OGs in the house. Rick Nyers, Gina G, Robert Sist. I'm seeing you type that SB. David Corona, he's been here for the last couple of years. El Tesla, run the freaking ball to Christian McCaffrey. I certainly understand that. Young Boy Z, SB, Mr. Block Ice has been a real one for a long time. Lore is a real one. So you could say SB for being new to the channel, or you could type real one if you've been here for a little while. Pat Ellsworth, what is up? Jerome Diaz, DNWL. Glad that all of you are here with us and really excited to get the show underway. Of course, under some sad circumstances with San Francisco suffering another choke job against Kansas City. If you're ready to talk some Niners, we're ready to get the show underway. I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. A lot of people are getting that notification. They're starting to pile into the show. So if you want to get the show underway, show us by liking the video. We already have 200 people watching live, and the show just got started. Let's get to 100 likes before we officially begin. We're at 35 likes right now. Smash that thumbs up icon, like the video. Killa MC saying, fire Kyle Shanahan. That's crazy. We talked about him on yesterday's show. That is a scorching hot take. I do have producer Chip here to my right. He's on the ones and twos. He's driving the ship, and all of the faithful ready to go as well. A loaded show coming your way on today's San Francisco 49ers Report. We're up to 212 people watching live, up to 52 likes. Let's get to 100 likes ASAP. San Francisco. Let's talk some Niners right now. All right, let's get it. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Plenty to get to on the rundown today. But first, our sponsor is 8 Sleep. You can get up to $200 off and free shipping on their new pod cover. We'll tell you more about that, but check them out down below, 8sleep.com/chatsports. Coming up here on today's 49ers Report, we have some injury news to get to on Aiyuk Armstead. As he revealed, he's been banged up with a significant injury that is going to cause him to go under the knife for quite some time. And, of course, the unfortunate injury news with Dre Greenlaw, the Niners star linebacker, tearing his Achilles in the second quarter of that Super Bowl on a really fluky moment in which he took the field after punt coverage with Fred Warner, and when he went to run on the field, he popped his Achilles. Also, what we're getting into, Kyle Shanahan expanding and describing what went into his overtime strategy. First, if you found us For the first time here on the 49ers Report during our Niners-Chiefs watch party, which set a company record with 2.1 million views. The translation here, if you watch the show for the first time during Super Bowl 58, I want you to type SB. We're so glad that you're here, and this can be and should be your go-to home for the best Niners coverage every single day, year-round. You're a faithful, and we're faithful to you, and we're glad that you're here with us. Let's get to the latest on Dre Greenlaw here. Tearing his Achilles, as I said, in the second quarter of Super Bowl 58. I thought the game really took a turn after he suffered that injury because he's such a great player. Oren Burks comes in, and the Kansas City Chiefs, as good teams do, were targeting Oren Burks throughout the remainder of the game. How it happened, very fluky, very unlucky, jogging onto the field from the sideline after a punt in which him and Fred Warner were celebrating together. And it is the same Achilles that Dre Greenlaw's been nursing over the last couple of weeks. It finally gave out on him. That was a natural grass surface at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, by the way, not that awful turf, which the Niners just absolutely hate to play and practice on. And what sucks about this is that Dre Greenlaw going out really impacted the Niners' defense. First couple of series, Greenlaw was everywhere. His energy was contagious. He brings that level of physicality as the Niners' enforcer to that side of the ball. And not only did it hurt San Francisco in the Super Bowl, leading to that loss, this injury and the severity of it could threaten Dre Greenlaw's availability for the entire 2024 season. He was playing with speed. He was playing with physicality. And in the first half, all-pro tight end Travis Kelce had 1 catch for 1 yard. And the Chiefs weren't really running a lot of crossers. They weren't targeting the middle area of the field because they knew Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw were there, and they're some of the best linebackers in coverage. So without that, the Niners not only lost one of their emotional leaders, but one of the best players on their entire roster. And his replacement, Oren Burks, he is a special teamer for a reason. I'm not taking anything away from what Oren Burks has been able to accomplish in the National Football League. But there's a reason when he was with the Green Bay Packers, now with the San Francisco 49ers, why he's not a traditional 3-down off-ball linebacker. When Greenlaw goes out, Burks comes in, and then the Chiefs target him 9 times. He gave up 9 catches, a touchdown, a quarterback rating of 134.7, nearly perfect there. And Burks had a Pro Football Focus coverage grade of 32.1. Many players in the aftermath of that crushing loss for San Francisco talked about the emotional toll of Greenlaw being out. It's really the heartbeat of that defense, and he's come into his own since being drafted out of Arkansas by this front office. In 2023, he was terrific. And I thought in back-to-back seasons, 2022, 2023, he's really grown into and developed into one of the best off-ball linebackers in the NFL. Speed, physicality, good range, good coverage skills. Notched 120 tackles this year, 4 pass breakups, 5 TFLs, overall Pro Football Focus coverage grade of 72.1, an overall PFF grade of 69.3, and a run defense grade of 70.9. Then in the playoffs, he really took his game to another level. In the divisional round, he had those 2 interceptions against Jordan Love. Once again, really good against Detroit, despite, again, dealing with that ailing Achilles injury. Overall PFF grade in the postseason of 80.2. How about this coverage grade right here? When he was targeted, really wasn't giving up many catches. 89.7. That is just terrific. As we look ahead, what are the replacements going to be? We'll see what the Niners do in free agency. We'll see what they do in the draft. Free agency coming up in March. Draft in April in Detroit. D. Winters and Jalen Graham, who were drafted by San Francisco out of Purdue and TCU in 2023, could see an increased role in 2024. As for Eric Armstead, he revealed today during locker room cleanout day that he tore the meniscus in his knee all the way back in week 13. And we've talked a lot about Eric Armstead, how he was dealing with the knee injury as well as plantar fasciitis in his foot. So plantar fasciitis in his foot, meniscus torn in his knee, not easy to push through. That's why from week 13 on, He didn't play until the divisional round against Green Bay. He's going to have to undergo surgery, hopes to be back for training camp. And this is part of a larger discussion on a macro sense for San Francisco. Because you look at the top 10 cap hits in 2024 for the Niners, Trent Williams, top cap hit on San Francisco's roster, $31.5 million. Debo comes in at $28.6 million. Eric Armstead, $28.3. Fred Warner at $24.4. George Kittle, $21.9. Charvarius Mooney-Ward, $17.9. Javon Hargrave, $15.4 million. Nick Bosa, $14.5. $42 million total by 2026. Then you have Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Aiyuk, both chiming in there at $14.1 million. As of this moment, without any restructures, the 49ers have $571,000 in cap space. Not a lot. And you have to wonder if all of those players that we just popped up on the screen, including Eric Armstead, are going to be back for the 2024 season. Money's starting to get a little bit tight for San Francisco, and they might have to make some difficult decisions on that roster. Now, today, Trent Williams and Kyle Juszczyk both said that they have no plans to retire. They have an importance on this ball club. But San Francisco would not surprise me at all if they tried to restructure some of the contracts that we just discussed or move off of those players entirely, whether it be a cut, whether it be a trade, to free up some cash. Keep an eye out for that. With that, we ask you this. What is the biggest Niners offseason need? Join the conversation down below in the comments section. Be sure to let us know. It has become an increasingly important and pivotal offseason for the Niners. They got to try to get to the mountaintop and win the Super Bowl with this current collection of players because, my goodness, they're a great roster, and if they don't win a Super Bowl, it'll go down as a big what if. As I mentioned off the rip, the 49ers Report is sponsored by 8 Sleep. You can get up to $200 off their new pod cover by using that link down below. And with 8 Sleep, what is it? High-tech solution to your age-old sleeping issues. 8 Sleep's Pod 3 cover slips right over your mattress, bringing heating and cooling tech that keeps you comfortable and sleeping deeper for a better, more restful night. The pod cover will improve your sleep by automatically adjusting your bed's temperature based on your individual needs. The cover can be added to any bed like a fitted sheet, and it allows you and your partner to cool or warm your side of the bed as low as 55 degrees and up to 110 degrees. I'm somebody who likes to cold plunge every day. I also sauna every day, so I love that cold and heat exposure. You get that with the pod cover. That's why I love it, and that's why I have it on my mattress. You can also control everything from your phone as well. No better way to improve your day-to-day life than better sleep. And the easiest way to do that, 8 Sleep's Pod 3 cover. Start the new year right. Invest in the rest that you deserve with the 8 Sleep Pod. It is the intelligent sleep system that you need. $200 off. Link is down below in the comment section as well as in the show notes of this video. Now let's get to this. Big controversy coming out of the Super Bowl. Of course, Kyle Shanahan losing another big game, losing another big lead. And why did Kyle Shanahan take the ball to start overtime? Here's what he had to say, and then I have some thoughts on it. It's just something that we talked about. None of us have a ton of experience with it, but we went through all of the analytics and talked to those guys. We just thought it would be better. We wanted the ball third. If both teams matched and scored, we wanted to be the ones who had the chance to go win it. Got that field goal, so we knew we had to hold them to at least a field goal, and if we did, then we thought it was in our hands after that. Now, to a lot of people, that logic is not going to make sense. Shanahan did add that decision, obviously predetermined after talking to the analytical department. John Lynch also said on Tuesday that what went into that decision was to give the defense a rest. The defense at that point was on the field a lot. The defense was gassed. So I don't hate the decision to give that defense a rest, allow that offense, which they did, to go down the field, eat 7 minutes off the clock. Then you're hoping your defense is going to be able to hold Patrick Mahomes. Easier said than done, and we know it didn't happen. The reality with Shanahan here is that he's an elite coach, one of the best coaches in the NFL. Almost every other organization would love to have him outside of a handful of coaches. Might not even be a handful, maybe just a couple of fingers. He's one of the top offensive minds in the sport. He's had loads of success. 4 NFC Championship games in the last 5 years, 2 Super Bowl appearances during that span. He's also had 3 dreadful losses in the Super Bowl. 28-3 is the OC for the Atlanta Falcons, up 10 points going into the fourth quarter in 2019, Super Bowl 54, up 10 points in the first half against the Chiefs here in Super Bowl 58. I think at some point, Kyle Shanahan is going to get over the top. He's going to win a Lombardi trophy, and we're really going to forget about this choke artist vibe. But right now, it's real. But he's exercised some of those demons. Against the Packers, he was 0-30 when trailing by 5 or more points in the fourth quarter. He won. Then the Niners in the NFC Championship game came back from the largest deficit in the history of NFC title games, coming back by 17 points. If he won the Super Bowl, and when he does, if he does, he's going to go down as one of the most impactful offensive minds that the sport has ever seen. This is why I think the Niners lost the game. Not entirely because of Kyle Shanahan. Christian McCaffrey, Offensive Player of the Year, All-Pro. First drive of the game, you're moving the rock. You have explosive plays through the air and on the ground. You can't fumble at the 27-yard line. That takes 3 to 7 points off the board. Could have been the difference in the game. The botch punt. That gave the Chiefs offense momentum. They didn't do anything up until that point. Your defense was throwing haymakers, playing great ball. That gave the Chiefs life. You can't do that to Patrick Mahomes. You got no points off the Isaiah Pacheco fumble. Yeah, it was in the Chiefs' red zone, but if you can get at least 3 there, that's a big swing. When you should have gotten points, and I talked about this with my boy Harrison Graham, no points off the Patrick Mahomes interception on that great play by Jair Brown to read his eyes off the overthrow, range over to his left, and pick that football off. You take over in Chiefs territory. You take over in plus territory. You can't get 3 points right there again. Momentum changes are real, and San Francisco didn't capitalize. And then you miss the PAT. You have that blown block in overtime on Chris Jones, who Spencer Burford replied to my tweet on X and said, that was my assignment. I shifted to the left, should have shifted to the right. He's 23 years old, probably feels like crap because he may have cost the Niners the Super Bowl. With that, let's round out the show with this. Will Kyle Shanahan ever win a Super Bowl with the San Francisco 49ers? Been here since 2017. All the success, but some gut-wrenching losses. Why for yes and for no? Segment number 1 down. We have 2 more segments left to get to on today's San Francisco 49ers report. We're going to continue to keep it moving. Gina G, all the mistakes were self-inflicted? Yes, they were. Exactly. Recent commenter club here. Jam, Ken, Gina, Daywalker, Phillip, Trade the GOAT, Marvin, Bonito, and Ernesto Ojeda. I see Mr. Block Ice is back. Nick Dolfer, Brian Torres. If anybody wants to send in a super chat, don't be scared. We certainly appreciate all of your support of the program right here on the Niners Report. All right, coming up next, I have put together my perfect Niners offseason plan. Chip, are you ready to rock?
I'm ready. I'm ready, baby.
Is the faithful ready to rock? Give me a thumbs up icon, like the video if you're ready to go. Let's get to 100 likes before we start this next segment. We're at 92 right now.
That's easy. That should be easy for the faithful, man. Should be easy for the faithful.
Mr. Green Thumb, Kyle won't win. He chokes at situational football. Now, I've talked about the resume of Andy Reid, right? Starting in year 3, 4 straight NFC Championship games. It took him 4 NFC title trips to get to the Super Bowl. And he's in Philadelphia 14 years. 5 NFC title games in totality. 1 Super Bowl appearance. Took that job in 99. He didn't win a ring until 2019. He, too, was and still is a little bit shaky with game management. Kyle Shanahan can overcome that. But the Niners blew a golden opportunity to win a Super Bowl this year, and maybe their best opportunity to win a championship against a down Chiefs team in which you were the better football team throughout much of that game. All right, we're past 100 likes. Let's get to our perfect offseason plan. It's coming up right now on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Today's San Francisco 49ers Report is presented by Manscaped. Join the 10 million men worldwide who have put their trust in the best men's grooming products, including myself, as well as producer Chip. We're looking fine for our significant others. You can as well. 20% off and free shipping. Manscaped.com/49ers. Use the code 49ers20. Coming up on today's program, my perfect offseason plan for San Francisco so that they can get back to the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 59, but this time win the Super Bowl in New Orleans to complete that quest for 6. And there are a lot of different steps that I want to go through here that I think the Niners need to address as far as their roster strategy, team building strategy, free agency plan, as well as draft strategy here on the show. So let's waste no time and let's get it underway. I think the most pressing need for the Niners going into the 2024 season is the right side of that offensive line. And in the last 2 years in the playoffs, you've gone up against some very good defensive lines. And you got exposed in the divisional round last year against the Dallas Cowboys, NFC Championship game against the Philadelphia Eagles, and here in Super Bowl 58, what happened? You got beat up in the trenches. The Kansas City Chiefs had 9 unblocked pressures, a season high for Kansas City, and Brock Purdy in the game was pressured 11 times. San Francisco going into the 2024 NFL Draft is loaded with 11 picks at their disposal. And in my opinion, they have to prioritize offensive line, but they have to prioritize offensive line early in the NFL Draft. And I don't think that the Niners are going to win the big game and win the Super Bowl until they bulk up that offensive line. Think about this. Under Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, since they paired up and took over this organization running football ops in 2017, the Niners have drafted like one good offensive lineman. That's Aaron Banks. Now, they used a draft pick on him. It's worked out. Borderline Pro Bowl player, and they're paying Trent Williams, who has the highest cap hit on this Niners roster in 2024. But at center, you're just okay. Right guard, right tackle, you're not good enough. And against the Baltimore Ravens on Christmas, number 1 team in the NFL in sacks, they were throwing you to the side, getting after Brock Purdy and pressuring him. Then in the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs, number 2 in the NFL in sacks, they had Brock Purdy under duress and under pressure all throughout the game. This is 2 straight years where bad offensive line play has cost San Francisco late in the playoffs. And you look at the Niners draft capital in 2024, draft coming up in April. You have your own selection, 31st overall. First time since the Niners took Trey Lance that they have a first-round pick. You have your own second-round pick, a third-round pick, another third, thanks to the compensatory pick formula, which the Niners have really mastered. You have 2 round 4 selections, your own, and then the 4th-round pick from Dallas in exchange for Trey Lance. You have a 5th-round compensatory pick, 6th-round compensatory pick, 2 of them. And then you have 2 7th-round picks, your own, and then a 7th-round pick from the Los Angeles Rams via the Denver Broncos originally. And I don't think that the Niners are going to address right tackle in free agency because they don't have the money to do so. So they're going to have to address this position at the back end of the first round, or if they decide to move up in the NFL Draft. And these are the players who could be available for San Francisco at 31 or at some point in the 20s, because I don't think that they're going to move a lot of pieces to try to get into the teens. You have Talius Fuaga at Oregon State, who had a great Senior Bowl, terrific player. You have Amarius Mims, who didn't play a lot at Georgia, but 2 years ago against Ohio State was terrific. Tyler Guyton played really good football at Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's done a great job of developing right tackles. Lane Johnson, one of them. Kingsley Suamatia at a BYU, who's tough as nails and played more than 1,100 snaps at BYU. And then you have Patrick Paul out of Houston. Of course, there are other options. And in the pre-draft process, NFL Scouting Combine, some players could skyrocket up boards, but the Niners have to lock down right tackle. And at the guard spot, much easier to find a quality player in the draft as compared to right tackle. There are a lot of other teams in the NFL who are going to prioritize offensive line, especially right tackle, because it's one of the most important positions on a football team. With guard, there are still going to be good players available day 2, day 3, in rounds 2 to 7. It is not good that Aaron Banks is the only good offensive lineman that this regime has drafted. They've drafted other positions extraordinarily well. They have to get offensive line right. And rookies can come in along the offensive line, and they can be impact players right from the jump. Before we continue to move forward with my perfect offseason plan, make sure you subscribe to us here on the San Francisco 49ers Report, the largest independently run Niners channel on YouTube, which covers this team every single day. There's a reason why we have more than 130,000 subscribers, because we have you covered with the best Niners free agency, draft, and in-season coverage. Perfect offseason plan step number 2, a Brandon Aiyuk contract extension. Now, Aiyuk has been a conversation throughout this week because of his friend and his girlfriend taking to social media and saying, we might not be in San Francisco next year. His friend saying, BA to Las Vegas. How does he only get 3 catches in a Super Bowl? His girlfriend saying, this is a sad day because it might be our last year in San Francisco. Now, Brandon Aiyuk, during locker room cleanout day, was asked if he hopes to stay with the Niners. He said, if that's the right move. And then he was asked a follow-up. What does the right move look like to win a championship? Brandon Aiyuk has earned a bag. It's easy to see why he's trying to gain leverage right after that loss. He was very emotional during locker room cleanout day. That goes to show that I think he really enjoys playing for this organization. Had an opportunity to talk to him in the lead up to the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. And he's just a terrific player who's well-spoken, a team leader who's respected by his coaches as well as his teammates. And John Lynch said, of course, we want to make Brandon Aiyuk a part of this organization for a long time. And he sees what we all see, the growth and development, the increasing production. He fits the culture to a T because he's tough, homegrown talent as well. He's a willing run blocker, and he's a complete player. And when I talk about that development here, it's been pretty special to see this up close and personal. In 2020, comes into the league as a rookie, only plays 12 games, but still has 748 yards and 5 touchdowns. Year 2, production goes up to 826 yards. Year 3 in 2022 really was his breakout season. 78 grabs, more than 1,000 yards, and this year just became more recognized and known nationally outside of just locally because people understood his footwork, route running really special, but Brock Purdy, unlike Jimmy Garoppolo, was able to unlock the deep ball element to Aiyuk's game. And the analytical numbers for him this year were great. Yards per catch, number 2. Yards per target, number 2. His overall Pro Football Focus wide receiver grade, number 2 behind only Tyreek Hill. His EPA, number 2. And then his receiving yards. I think this is a really impressive statistic here because the Niners are a run-heavy offense with the running back in Christian McCaffrey, who is the NFL Offensive Player of the Year. He had more than 2,000 all-purpose yards. Debo had more than 1,000 all-purpose yards. George Kittle had more than 1,000 receiving yards. Yet, despite run-heavy offense and playing on a loaded team, was number 7 in the NFL in overall receiving production. Brandon Aiyuk should be a member of this team for a really long time, and if you ask me, I'm giving him the bag, and the price tag is going to start at least $20 million per year. Now, today's 49ers Report is sponsored by Manscaped. 2024 is in full swing. I can't believe we're about halfway through February here, and that means it's time for a New Year's resolution check-in with our friends at Manscaped. Newsflash, never too late to level up your grooming game and keep your bush tamed. That's what your significant other wants. Manscaped's new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is every man's cheat code to look good, feel good, and turn the page on confidence this year. Whether you're going for a trim or that clean-shaven look, this trimmer has you covered. Trusted by 10 million men worldwide, now is your time to get a grip on your grooming with our exclusive offer. Manscaped.com/49ers, code 49ers20, 20% off and free shipping. The ball has dropped, but don't drop the ball on your balls. Introducing the MVP of 2024. No, it's not Patrick Mahomes. Get out of here. Manscaped's 5th-generation lawnmower, not just a trimmer, it's your grooming sidekick. Equipped with 2 skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little bit off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. It's like having a personal stylist for your balls. So with that, Manscaped.com 49ers. Code 49ers20. You get 20% off and free shipping on the best men's grooming products in the entire universe. We're going to put that link down below in the comment section as well as in the description of this video. Perfect offseason plan continues. Niners are going to have to get creative with the cap, and they're going to have to pull off some salary cap gymnastics, as I like to call them. Restructures, and you got to clear up cap space here. The top 10 cap hits for the Niners here in 2024. They are paying some lofty contracts to some premium players, and that's why losing the Super Bowl this year hurts so bad, because you're not going to be able to have this roster forever, even though the NFL salary cap is on the uptick and has been for the last several years. Trent Williams cap hit, $31.5 million. He said he's going to return this year. Deebo Samuel, lofty 28.6. Eric Armstead, 28.3. Fred Warner at 24.4. George Kittle, 21.9. Mooney Ward, 17.9. Javon Hargrave, playing with a torn ligament in his thumb in the Super Bowl, 15.4. Bosa's due $42 million total by 2026, $14.5 million this year. And then Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Aiyuk, both there at $14.1 million. The Niners right now, going into the offseason without any restructures yet, have $571,000 in cap space. So with all of those players that we talked about, I'd honestly be somewhat surprised if all of them return or if one of them is not on the team. Like, if one of them is off this team, I'm not going to be that surprised if I said that correctly. What I'm trying to say, I'd be surprised if all of those players are back entirely or on those contracts. And there are two restructure candidates that I want to hone in on here. Eric Armstead at $28.3 million probably doesn't give you the production that you want at $28 million, although I think he's a pivotal force on this Niners defensive line against the run, against the pass. He has been injured the last couple of years. That's a concern. And I love Deebo Samuel. Deebo, whoa. But he's been injured the last 2 years as well. You're paying him a lot of coin. And in his NFL career, he's really been healthy for the 2019 season and the 2021 season as a rookie, and then an all-pro year a couple of years ago. Look, if I got to have a conversation with Eric Armstead, Deebo Samuel, I will. I love you as a player, both of you. I think that you are important players for our roster, impact players when you're on the field, but you haven't been on the field enough, and we got to lower that cap hit. You got to take a little bit of a pay cut. Also, low-key, the Niners lost Super Bowl 58 for so many reasons, but for the big game that Deebo talks and for how good he is as a player, had some bad drops in the bowl. Coming in at number 4, the Niners have to figure out who their defensive coordinator is going to be in 2024. Kyle Shanahan didn't have a ringing endorsement of Steve Wilks at his end of the season press conference. He did not confirm if Steve Wilks would be back this upcoming season. He also said the status of our assistant coaches is going to be discussed at a later date. And he said, why? Well, I haven't really watched the Super Bowl film yet, but he said we have to go through the defensive tape and we have to think about offensively, defensively, special teams, who we want to be as a football team. Now, Shanahan was asked that question again on a follow-up about Steve Wilks. He did say, I expect all of our coaches to be back, but I don't know, man. You have an opportunity to say, Steve Wilks will be back. If I went up to my bosses and I said, hey, you think that we're going to run it back for the 2024 season? And they came to me and they said, well, Chase, we're going to have to look at the Chat Sports office here to see who we want to come back for the 2024 season. You know what I'm doing after that meeting? I'm not feeling good about it. I'm probably looking at a job board to see where I can go next in my broadcasting career. Finally, find some help for Nick Bosa. And what does this entail? Nick Bosa wants to see Chase Young come back. But I thought that this Niners defensive line, which did struggle a little bit in generating a consistent pass rush on opposing quarterbacks as compared to the last couple of years under DeMeco Ryans and Eric Armstead, started to be a little bit better after the Chase Young trade. And I did think that with all of that money capital invested into the defensive line, especially in that first half, they were really good against Kansas City. They moved Patrick Mahomes off his spot. They forced him to be uncomfortable. They led him into throwing his first interception in 6+ games in the playoffs when he had a touchdown interception ratio of 11-0. Defensive line came to play. But Nick Bosa can't do it all himself. I get it. You're paying Eric Armstead and Javon Hargrave a lot of money, but you need another good defensive end opposite of Bosa. And are the Niners going to retain some players along this defensive line? They're 2024 free agents. Are they going to bring back Javon Kinlaw? He may have outpriced himself for San Francisco's liking because he did play well this year, stayed healthy, and in the Super Bowl, he was causing some havoc. So he might look to go somewhere else to just make some more money. Deshaun Gibson, Sam Darnold, Brandon Allen, Ray McCloud, all free agents. You have Cleveland Ferrell, who, like Eric Armstead, dealing with a torn meniscus in his knee. Charlie Warner, Ross Dwelly, John Feliciano, Kevin Givens, Oren Burks, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. You also have Chase Young, who is set to be a free agent. And are you willing to pay decent money to Chase Young? Because of the lack of effort and production issues, he might not come back to San Francisco on a multi-year deal. Do you want to bring him back on a one-year contract? Of course, Nick Bosa played with Chase Young at Ohio State, and when he was cleaning out his locker, he said, quote, "I definitely want Chase Young back." I'm a little bit lukewarm on Chase Young. I thought when he was engaged, when he had a good motor, he played good football. But to me, that's unacceptable. Nick Bosa has a motor on every single play. He never takes a snap off. And if you're going to invest that money into a defensive end, I'm not going Chase Young. You know who I'm going with? I'm going with Brian Burns, who is a good scheme fit for Chris Kocurek and what the Niners like to do with that four-man front. Josh Allen, more so of kind of an outside stand-up pass rusher, which of course works for San Francisco, but more a fit, I think, maybe in a 3-4 defense. You do have Danielle Hunter coming off another really good season, but he's a little bit older. And then Bryce Huff, whose production has been a little bit up and down. For me, signing Brian Burns would be an absolute dream. And we talked about Brian Burns going into the trade deadline the last couple of years. He has not gotten dealt by Carolina. I think he wants an opportunity to play for a legitimate squad, doesn't really want to be a part of a rebuilding process. He's had consistent and steady sack production, and you've never really had to worry about some of the effort issues that are persistent with Chase Young. That was the word after he got traded away by Washington, and then obviously what happened in the NFC Championship game brought those issues to light as well. Burns has had really, really good career, and you look at the sack production, 2020 with 9, 2021 with 9, 2022 career high with 12.5, and then this past year, really good defensive scheme, 8 sacks, 18 quarterback hits, 21 pressures, and 16 tackles for loss. Him on the other side of Nick Bosa, that's a really, really quality defensive end tandem, and honestly, one of the best in the NFL. So that is my perfect offseason plan for San Francisco. What do you think about what I had to say? A, B, C, D, or F, you can be honest with me. And if you want to say F, Chase, you can do that as well. Nick Dolfer, $24 super chat. We need some new offensive linemen to help Williams and the running game out, give Purdy more balance and protection. Now, I tweeted out on X that the Niners are not going to win a Super Bowl until they prioritize offensive line. And some people who just box score hunt said, well, Chase, they were such a good rushing team. Yeah, but you got to be able to pass protect. And there's a reason why the Niners didn't really run it to that right side, and they ran it to the left side a lot. Because Kyle Shanahan knew that the right side of that offensive line was a weakness. What are the people saying? Nick Dolfer B+, Gina G with the B. Thank you for getting those votes in. Negan, Chris Jones over Bosa. I wouldn't disagree. Chris Jones is one of the best defensive players in the game. So too is Bosa. Negan said Bosa is overrated, overpaid for just a sack count. I disagree. Nick Bosa was terrific in the NFC Championship game. He was really good in the Super Bowl. He's a high-level impact player who's also a tone setter as far as the culture. Wet Noodle 187 said, "C, sorry, bro. Hey, I just want you to be honest with me, Wet Noodle 187. That's all I care about." All right, coming up lastly, I know we've mentioned briefly, is Steve Wilks going to be back in 2024? Not sure he's going to be. And if he isn't, who are some defensive coordinator replacements? My answer might shock you, but I also have thoughts on Steve Wilks as well. Segment number 3 about to get underway here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Let's go. What's good? What's up? Welcome in. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr., and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate you on this beautiful Tuesday for tuning into the show, which is presented by 8 Sleep. $200 off and free shipping on their Pod 3 cover. You slip it right over your mattress, and from your phone, you can control how warm or cool your mattress gets. 8sleep.com/chatsports. We'll put that link down below in the comment section and in the description of this video. The purpose of today's San Francisco 49ers Report, on top of having a new Brandon Aiyuk trade update, is this topic at hand. Are the San Francisco 49ers going to fire defensive coordinator Steve Wilks? Kyle Shanahan, in his end-of-the-season press conference, said, we're going to think about our coaching staff. We're going to think about who we want to be as a football team offensively, defensively, and special teams. And when he was asked specifically about Steve Wilks, he did not say for sure he was going to be back in 2024. Did not confirm that. He said that will be discussed at a later date. He has not watched the Super Bowl film yet, and when he goes back and looks at the film, I've watched it already, there were some defensive lapses late in the game. Now, I think that the Niners losing that game partially because the offense did not do anything to really bail out the defense, which for the first 2.5, 3 quarters was really, really good, and then they ran out of steam in that fourth quarter, and oftentimes that's what Patrick Mahomes does. He strangles you, and then you're gasping for air at the end of the game. And when you have to play into overtime against Mahomes and Andy Reid, it makes your job that much more difficult. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, Chase, Kyle Shanahan was asked a follow-up question about Steve Wilks, and he said this, I expect all of our coaches to be back, but I said this during our live show. If I had my end-of-the-season meeting with my bosses, the CEO and the COO of Chat Sports, and I asked them, are you confident that I'm going to be back in 2024 as the host of the 49ers Report? And they responded to me by saying, we're going to have to look at the analytics. We're going to have to look and see how you perform this year. And we're going to discuss that at a later date. I'd probably go home not feeling good about myself. And I'd go on a job forum, or I'd reach out to an agent to see if I can land the job in sports broadcasting. Now, for those of you who like the show, we had a record-setting season on the San Francisco 49ers Report. We reached 5 million people over the last month. I'm not going anywhere. But there's also this from Tim Kawakami of The Athletic, who's been a long-time Bay Area reporter covering the sports scene there in San Francisco, and he had plenty to say about Steve Wilks. No sensible team wants to run through scapegoat roulette. Great journalism right there as far as the vocab. After this kind of bitter loss, and I don't think Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are scapegoaters. Once you start down that road, sometimes it's hard to stop, and the whole thing destabilizes. It's important to note that Wilks is a solid DC who had to learn this defense and this personnel on the fly this year and actually frustrated the Chiefs' offense throughout much of the Super Bowl, even after losing Dre Greenlaw in the first half. And there's no doubt that the 49ers missed Dre Greenlaw, who's one of the best off-ball linebackers in the NFL and brings a physical component to the linebacker position that sometimes you don't see nowadays because of rule changes. And the defense was great much of the game. I don't think the Niners offense did the defense any favors by not converting on third downs, not elongating drives, not capitalizing off of a couple of Chiefs giveaways. And because of that, the defense had to be on the field for more Patrick Mahomes opportunities because of a byproduct of the Niners offense not taking advantage of opportunities. And naturally, the math will play out. When you give Patrick Mahomes ample chances, he's going to take advantage of those opportunities. More from Tim Kawakami, though, on Steve Wilks, because he said this before Kyle Shanahan said all of this. That's an important part of this conversation here. There were clearly some shaky times and weird communication throughout this season, culminating with the last few Mahomes drives when the Niners' defense seemed more confused than it should have been, and as Nick Bosa noted with some anguish later, wasn't all the way prepared for Mahomes keeping the ball on 2 critical plays. The key postseason stat, The 49ers gave up 130 rushing yards on Sunday and an average of 149 in their 3 playoff games. That is not the way Shanahan and Lynch want things to go in the biggest of games. That's not how the Niners are built to play. They're supposed to win games with physicality, yet they got outrushed in all 3 of their playoff games. Is Wilks the guy to get this defense back to a prime level, or is there another candidate closer to the Robert Saleh, DeMeco Ryans mold, who comes from the Seahawks cover 3 system and who might have more personal chemistry with the defense that's fueled by its linebackers and defensive front? Former Seattle and current Indianapolis defensive coordinator, former Jacksonville coach Gus Bradley, would seem like an almost perfect fit. But I don't know if he's available. Other than that, it's unclear. So again, Tim Kawakami talking about Steve Wilks' return to 2024 as not being fully set in stone. And look, this is where we get to what I would do if Kyle Shanahan wanted to move on from Steve Wilks. Call me crazy. Last time I checked, Bill Belichick and Mike Vrabel, 2 great defensive minds who have a lot of head coaching experience in this league. Obviously, Bill Belichick, 6 rings. Mike Vrabel always maximized his roster with the Tennessee Titans. They're without a job. I would call Bill Belichick or Mike Vrabel to be the defensive coordinator. I understand that they might be here for 1 year, and then they're going to bolt to get a head coaching job elsewhere. That's cool. But I'm looking at this defense right now with all of these marquee players, Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, Fred Warner. Hopefully Dre Greenlaw comes back in 2024. Mooney Ward, Diamador Lenore. I love the safety tandem of Jair Brown and Talanoa Hufanga. Like, you have some marquee players, and your captain of the defense is Fred Warner. You're telling me that football-obsessed guys like Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel wouldn't want to try to chase a Super Bowl as the defensive coordinator coaching all of those dogs? And for both Vrabel and Belichick, while they might not be a head coach in title for a team across the NFL, they can be the head coach of the defense. And they can also help Kyle Shanahan with game management, an area in which he struggles with mightily and has struggled with mightily throughout his entire coaching career. All head coaching vacancies are filled right now, so they can coach up a still stacked defense. And for Kyle Shanahan, he's feeling the heat. He's feeling the pressure. He's been a part of 3 bad Super Bowl losses, 2 as a head coach, 1 as a coordinator. He might be desperate to the point where he loves football. Bill Belichick loves football. They can come together, collaborate. Bill Belichick is a football historian. His father really founded the guide for what scouting is, and he was a coach at Navy, which really blossomed the love for the game that Bill Belichick has. That right there would be pretty legendary. With that, this is our poll question for today's show. Do you want to see Wilks return in 2024, or are you going Belichick or Vrabel like me? R for return, F for fire. Let me know what you're thinking right now down in the comment section. As I mentioned off the top, today's 49ers Report is sponsored by 8 Sleep. Head to 8sleep.com/chatsports. 8 Sleep. Sleep to power a whole new you. The 8 high-tech solution to your age-old sleeping issues. 8 Sleep's Pod 3 cover slips right over your mattress, bringing heating and cooling that keeps you comfortable and sleeping deeper for a better, more restful night. The pod cover will improve your sleep by automatically adjusting your bed's temperature based on your individual needs. The pod cover can be added to any bed like a fitted sheet and allows you and your partner to cool or warm your side of the bed as low as 55 degrees and up to 110 degrees. What's cool about this? It slips right over your mattress, and you can control the heating or cooling right from the power of your own phone. The pod cover will improve your sleep by automatically adjusting that bed's temperature, and there's no better way to improve your day-to-day life better than sleep. I need some of it to catch up on it, given the grind of the football season, and the easiest way for me to do that, 8 Sleep's Pod 3 cover. Start the new year right and invest in the rest that you deserve with the 8 Sleep Pod 3 cover. I cold plunge every day. I sauna every night. This is honestly an intelligent sleep system that helps me do additional things as far as cool and warm therapy. So back to the conversation here of the man to my right in current Niners defensive coordinator Steve Wilks. If the Niners do move on, I guarantee you it's going to be one of those blanket statements where the Niners and Steve Wilks have mutually agreed to part ways. Some key defensive numbers that you have to look at with Steve Wilks, because not everything was bad this past year. Number 4 in points per game allowed at 18.8. Number 9 in yards per game given up at 319. 8th in yards per play at 5.1. But then you start to look at some hairy numbers here. Third down conversion percentage. Niners couldn't get off the field with a lot of really good defensive players. 27th there, 42.4%. Red zone scoring percentage, not bad. 11th in the league among 32 teams. Yards per carry, though, as we saw and as we talked about a little bit earlier, Niners couldn't stop the run in the playoffs. 21st in yards per carry. Their sack percentage. I think this is a scheme issue. There's really no other explanation for why the Niners sack numbers went down. They were 20th in sack percentage. Is that a scheme issue with Steve Wilks? And then yards per pass, they were pretty solid there at number 5. So with Steve Wilks, if Kyle Shanahan thinks the defense can get better, if he doesn't like the identity of that defense, would not surprise me if he moves on, especially after watching that Super Bowl tape. Let's round out the show with this. Just a new and fresh Brandon Aiyuk update. Does he want to stay with the San Francisco 49ers? He was asked that as he was cleaning up his locker. He said, if it's the right move. He was asked to follow up. What would that move look like? Being a champion. Now, his friend said on Instagram, BA to Vegas. This is why we're not going to return to San Francisco. Had as your all-pro player in the Super Bowl. Have just 3 catches. But if Brandon Aiyuk wants to be a champion, the best place where he can become a champion is with the San Francisco 49ers. And he was crying at his locker as he was cleaning things up. That goes to show you he clearly wants to win. He's heartbroken about this loss like we all are. But if you want to win, man, and you want to put up numbers, you do that with San Francisco. You do it with Kyle Shanahan. Now, a reason we're talking about these Brandon Aiyuk trade rumors is because his friend / brother, as it's been phrased on social media, posted this on his Instagram story. This is the exact reason why we're leaving San Francisco. Thank you, 49ers, for drafting my brother. We are forever faithful. BA to Vegas. And then he added, why does your all-pro wide receiver who had 1,300 yards only have 3 catches in the Super Bowl? And then Aiyuk's girlfriend on TikTok. Okay, this might have been the last day we touch foot on Levi's Stadium, me and Braylon. That's their son, because we might not be here next year. Now, to clear some things up, John Lynch did say at his end of the season press conference that Brandon Aiyuk is a player that this team loves. They want him to be a part of the core, but it's going to come down to the asking price. And I think that asking price starts at $20 million per year. Aiyuk has gotten better every year that he's been in the NFL. His ascension has been very, very impressive since being a first-round pick out of Arizona State in 2020. And the analytical numbers, very, very good. Number 2 in yards per catch, yards per attempt, overall Pro Football Focus grade, only number 2 among wide receivers behind Tyreek Hill. EPA at number 2, and then receiving yards at number 7. And then you look at the growth that's taken place. He's a player who, like I said, is on the uptick. He's on the rise. And you don't want to give a bag to a player who has declining production. But a reason why another team might be willing to pay him a lot of money is that they think that in a non-run heavy system like Kyle Shanahan's, with fewer weapons than the Niners have, Brandon Aiyuk can be a 1,500-plus yard receiver and a number 1 on a team, given his ability to win at the line of scrimmage with that great footwork and route running. If you want the Niners to re-sign Aiyuk, simply type BA down below in the comment section. As always, we want to hear from the faithful. Anthony with the $2 super chat. Release always hurt. Great players build the offensive line. Anthony, that's his team building strategy. Like mine, build the offensive line. That's what the Niners have to do. All right, appreciate everybody for tuning in today. Really good content here on the show. Hopefully all of you agreed with us. Producer Chip and I, we are about to sign off. We'll be live again on Thursday with some more Niners content which is coming your way. Recent commenter club, Sean Tardif, Ernesto, Jaheim, Nick Dolfer, Marianne, Daniel, Synergy, Mark G. Way to support the show. We certainly appreciate that. So we're going to sign off right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. For Chip, I'm Chase. For the faithful, we're going to be all right. HF, how about it? HF with the $2 super chat. He did make a good point here. Makes a good point. Chiefs got rid of Tyreek Hill. They did that, and they just went back-to-back without Tyreek Hill. I get it. But the camaraderie that Aiyuk has with Brock Purdy, I think it's pretty special. And I'd like to bring a player like that back. Maybe you trade Deebo Samuel away. Could that be the move? Jeannie Wyatt, all throughout the show, she said goodbye, Colton McKivitz, goodbye, Chase Young. Jeannie, I love you for bringing the energy. All right, now we're signing off. For Chip, I'm Chase. For the faithful, we out. We'll see you Thursday live, but of course, videos coming your way every single day right here on the show.